Sia has been slammed for casting a non-autistic actor to play a girl with autism in her film Music. 18-year-old Maddie Ziegler, who's performed in a lot of her film clips before and has worked closely with Sia for several years, scored the lead role, but Sia has since defended her choice after uproar from the autistic community.
To be fair, Sia's also attacked a lot of people from the autistic community on Twitter. Joe Abbey and Tim Blackwell are here to discuss this. Joe, you wrote the article on this, so I'll go to you first, because you say you are uncomfortable with the criticism of Sia's choice of casting Maddie. Just speak to us about that.
So I have two boys with autism, so I sort of feel like I'm pretty entrenched in the community, and I saw all of the debate going back and forth. And I understand when it comes to making sure there's inclusion in, you know, the so-called real world, when it comes to workplaces and schooling, etc. But I don't know, when it comes to art and movies and music and creating something from scratch and having Sia be the creator and wanting to express it in the way she chooses with someone she's worked with for years and years, I feel she should have that right. And also the autistic community is attacking this movie based on a trailer. It hasn't come out yet. It comes out next year. I think the best way to protest something if you don't agree with it is to not go and see it, not to protest the very making of it.
I guess a lot of people are saying, you know, people like Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man and Jim Parsons in Big Bang Theory, they have played they are non-autistic people who have played the roles of autistic actors, autistic
characters,
people.
Sandra Bullock's also not an astronaut.
That's right.
This is creativity, this is art, and surely putting something like this on a stage, a public stage, is actually the important thing. Sia doesn't have to make it. Like, shouldn't we be encouraging people to be making stories and telling stories? And if she wants to work with someone you know, like, how nice is it to do something with someone you know and someone you trust? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I hate the fact that, you know, 10 people on Twitter have to try and tear things down. It's the cancel culture is actually ridiculous. That's the actual issue here.
I'm going to go against all of that with respect to your article. I actually think your point of view is actually really warranted because you do have skin in the game. I'm going to go from the artistic point of view, from the art point of view. I think what we're hearing now, you know, Rain Man was 25 years ago. Jim Parsons doing Big Bang Theory, that's 10, 15 years ago as well.
Doctor, Atypical, they're current.
But more and more now we're hearing from communities like the autistic community, from the trans community. They're saying what we want, not necessarily to take those roles, but to have a say in how they're being interpreted on the screen.
How they're represented.
Because before we did Rain Man, none of us had really heard about
the Hugh Sheridan story, right, with the trans community. Shouldn't have that happened in the audition process? Yes. He's got the job. Let him do the job and let the show go on. You've now ruined a man's opportunity to do something with his role, with his art. I think that's the crime there. I
don't think that's necessarily the case, and there's a lot going on with that as well. But to keep it on this one, I kind of hear that when you're mugging for the camera to play an autistic someone with autism, I feel like those days are gone, you know, and I feel like that the artistic community needs to step up and listen more. Whether it's Hugh, whether it's Sia, whether it's Maddie Ziegler, it's now time for us to listen to those marginalised voices that we're representing and making millions out of.
I just don't understand the arguments. They're saying it's not a realistic interpretation of autism. Well, it's a movie. They're singing and dancing in colour. And also there really isn't a realistic interpretation of autism. It's so different in every person. So her interpretation of it isn't reflective of anything except that interpretation of it.
From the artistic point of view to actually go,
so
how do I make it more like
so make documentaries, make your own movies, do what you need to do. But I think having a story out there, having conversations like this without cancellation coming into it are more important than
at least bring the relevant voices to the table, right?
The argument
to be represented.
And it's not even just about the movie. They've argued about how Maddie Ziegler trained. They're upset they consulted with Autism Speaks because some people have issues. But there's people.
That's a very complicated thing.
But there's people within the autism community who have autism who love this movie as well, who are too scared to voice their opinions because everyone's so upset about it. And that's the part where I start to say, hey, we need to be able to respectfully disagree because our lives and experiences with autism are so varied and different.
And also the word is acting. It's acting.
It's acting. It really is acting. If you don't like it, don't see the movie.
Well, have a look at 9honey.com for Joe's article because it's really interesting insight.